welcome back to Storming Hockey. Today I will be doing a standings prediction video for the 2026-2027 season, since we're only about 2 months from the start of the regular season on September 29th. Anyways, without further ado, let's get started. We'll start with the Pacific Division. We'll go from 8th all the way to 1st. 8th, I don't think this is going to come to a surprise to anyone, Vancouver. They had a nearly historically awful season last season. There's Quinn Hughes is gone. Kiefer Sherwood's gone. They only have Brock Besser. They have some good future pieces like Atu Ratu or Archie Baines. And if Demko can stay healthy, maybe they can do a bit better. But Vancouver, I would not be surprised to see them finish last in the league again. So Vancouver is 8th in the Pacific Division. 7th. This is... I'm not sure, but you know what? I'll go with Calgary. Calgary could finish 6th as well, or Seattle could finish 7th. Calgary didn't impress me a lot last season. Dustin Wolf's easily the future in net for the Flames. Sharon Govich, I think, is underrated. Huberdeau's there, even though he hasn't been as good since he was in Florida and with that 115-point season in 2021-2022 before he got traded to the Flames, and he hasn't been as good since. Calgary, it's going to take a bit for them to get back above the playoff line, but the future looks good for Calgary. 6th, Seattle. I'm not really that impressed by Seattle. They've only made the playoffs once in their existence in their first 5 seasons, going into their 6th as the Kraken. Jared McCann, still probably the best player in franchise history through 5 years. Joey Daccord, great goaltender. Got to stick with Seattle, that's for sure. I don't have really much else to say. I mean, hey, if they got Jason Robertson, if he went to Seattle and that contract, signed that $15 million deal in Seattle, maybe things would have looked differently. Okay, 5th, Los Angeles. LA was swept by Colorado in the playoffs this year, which wasn't necessarily surprising. Colorado was expected to do very well, and they did through the first 2 rounds before they got swept to Vegas in the conference finals. I don't expect much out of LA. Kopitar's gone. I mean, hey, they can they'll probably make the playoffs again, or I'm not sure about probably, maybe. There's still good players. Quentin Byfield, Kempe, Gaudy's still there. Brant Clark's, I think, a bit underrated, but LA, I think I could see a bit of a regression of the Kings this year. Hey, 4th, under new head coach Mike Babcock, the Edmonton Oilers. So the Edmonton Oilers just hired Mike Babcock as their head coach. McDavid's still there. Draisaitl's still there. Hyman, Bouchard, all the guys there. Goaltending is a big problem in Edmonton. Tristan Jarry and Connor Ingram is not a good goaltending tandem. Could use some pieces on defense and maybe some help from the Oilers. I'm not sure what Edmonton, how good Mike Babcock will be a coach of Edmonton, but that's yet to be seen. 3rd, team I'm wearing, San Jose. San Jose, it's their time to make a big step with all their young pieces. Celebrini, Misa, Smith, Askarov in net. So many young pieces there. Stenberg's now there. 2nd overall pick in the draft this year. The future is bright for San Jose. Maybe the brightest in the entire league. That's yet to be seen, but San Jose, it's shaping up to be a big season for them. 2nd place, the Anaheim Ducks. Anaheim made a big step forward this past season. They beat the Oilers in the first round before they lost to Vegas in the second. Anaheim's first series win since 2017, and in their first playoff appearance since 2018. I expect Anaheim to remain a contender for a while now. They got Carlson secured, Cutter Gauthier. Carlson's on a big contract. That could screw up some things, but that's yet to be seen. Expect big things out of Anaheim. Maybe if Doach Dahl gets better, they can meet him there. First, it's not going to surprise anyone, the Vegas Golden Knights. Coming off a Stanley Cup final loss to the Hurricanes, I expect Vegas to be good. Mitch Marner could easily lead the team. He might be better than Eichel or something. Marner and Eichel going to carry that team. Goaltending, I think, is a bit of a question. Carter Hart or Aiden Hill, I'm not sure. Defense is good. Pietrangelo isn't there for them. Shea Theodore, Barbashev lead the way. Hurdle. Yeah, I think Vegas is going to win the division still. All right, on to the Central Division. I'm a little conflicted with who to put last, but you know what? Actually, no. I'll think about this for a second. I'll come back. Okay. 8th, I'm not sure if this is really the best choice, but right now I'm just going to go the Chicago Blackhawks. Yes, Connor Bedard's aspiring playoffs. The Hawks could still get Patrick Kane, and might be considered the best Hawk of all time. Either that or Stan Mikita. Spencer Knight, Charlotte Checkers led him, by the way, is very much a great future goaltender. Chicago's got a lot of young, underrated pieces. Nick Lardis, Oliver Moore, Wyatt Kaiser, Alex Vlasic. Chicago will be good. They just got to get up there, but the Central Division's got very good teams, so Chicago, unfortunately, I'm predicting they'll be last. But they could prove me wrong. Bedard does want to go to the playoffs. 7th, Winnipeg. Yes, Connor Hellebuyck's still there. Mark Scheifele, 100-plus point scorer. Kyle Connor. Nikolai Ehlers has gone to Carolina. And as many of you all know. But Winnipeg, they did take a big step back after winning the President's Trophy the previous season. I'm not sure what to expect out of them. Mark Scheifele had 103 points for the team last season. Winnipeg had finished 7th in the division, so that's where I have them. And not much else to say, but if maybe the team can get back to like how they were in 2024, 2025, maybe they can get back up the playoff line. 6th, Nashville Predators. Stamkos is still there. Marchessault, I think, might need to be traded at some point. He's not panned out in Nashville. Stamkos, to an extent, hasn't either, but Stamkos is still scoring very good. Svechkov's gone, unfortunately. I thought Svechkov was a great prospect. Philip Forsberg's still there. I think Forsberg could easily just stay a Predator in his entire career. Not a lot of people know he's a draft pick of the Washington Capitals, but no one ever talks about that. Nashville, I don't expect them to get above the playoff line. I think Jose Saros can very well improve. Nashville did nearly make the playoffs. I mean, I wouldn't have been surprised if they got swept to the Avalanche, just like how the Kings did, but they nearly did make the playoffs. But, yeah, not much else to say about Nashville. Brady Martin might take hold this year, though. 5th overall pick from 2025. So, yet to be seen. 5th, St. Louis Blues. One of young cores here. They would have been higher if the division was not as good, the Central Division. Still got Robert Thomas. Parayko's still there. Kairu's gone, though, so that could be an issue, but got Holloway, Broberg, Snuggerud, who could be the face of the franchise at some point. Dvorsky. I'm not sure about goaltender if you go Binnington or Hofer most of the season. I'd guess they'd go with Binnington, but yet to be seen. Utah, it will be 4th again. The Central Division is just very good, but Utah is definitely, if they keep going on the upward trajectory, they can definitely get into contender status here for the Cup. Clayton Keller, Logan Cooley, Vejmelka, Genther, Marino got signed to an 8-year extension, and with one of the best management groups in the league now, after they got out of Arizona, and Alex Morello, Utah's been doing very well since they left Arizona. So, yeah, Utah, 4th. All right, 3rd. This might be a bit controversial, but the Dallas Stars. Dallas took a bit of a step back in terms of playoff production, losing to the Wild in the first round. But Dallas is still very good. Got Jamie Benn, Rantanen, Robertson, maybe for only this. This might be Robertson's last year with the Stars, though. Jake Ottinger, one of the best goalies in the league. Stankoven's gone now. Well, he already left a couple years ago, but now he's becoming one of the best players on the Hurricanes, so kind of Dallas might regret that. Maverick Bourque's gone. It's yet to be seen if that was a mistake by Dallas or not. I haven't seen Bourque have a breakout season in Dallas. Maybe he will in Nashville. Yet to be seen, but Dallas have them 3rd. And 2nd, the Minnesota Wild took a big step forward, their first series win in 11 years after they beat the Stars until they got their floor wiped by Colorado in the 2nd round. Kaprizov, Quinn Hughes, probably the 2 biggest guys. Wallstead, they better not trade Wallstead. I'd trade Gustafsson, even though just probably keep the 2, to be honest. I think that'd be a great goaltending tandem for Minnesota for the future. Brock Faber, Matt Boldy, definitely some key pieces there. I wonder if Danila Yurov could have a breakout this year, though. He was projected to be 60 points by the Hockey News last year in their 2025-2026 preview, but I don't remember. I'll have to check, but maybe Urov has a breakout, but Minnesota definitely primed to be in a good contender status. Colorado, I still have them being first in the Central. Amazing regular season. It didn't pan out with a trip to the finals. They lost. They got swept to Vegas. Injuries, though, played a... Don't, think because they got swept in the conference finals that they're not going to... That they don't have a chance to get back there. They were banged up. Bakar, McKinnon. Yes, President's Trophy curse definitely struck them. They hasn't been a President's Trophy team to win the Cup since Chicago in 2013, and that was in a shortened season, nonetheless. So, but I still expect Colorado first. All right, the Metropolitan Division is next. All right. Okay, I'm gonna drop a bit of a bomb with my pick to finish last in the Metro. The Pittsburgh Penguins. I think the Penguins do need to get some more young players. Avery Hayes will be a good player, but Pittsburgh's a really aging team. I would not be surprised to see them drop off. They could prove me wrong. Pittsburgh has proved a lot of teams wrong and people wrong during their history, but Pittsburgh, I don't have high expectations for the Penguins, even though they were just in the playoffs, but nearly got swept at the Flyers. Okay, 7th, the New Jersey Devils. New Jersey doesn't have that big of a young core. Of course, he's still got Jack and Luke Hughes. Nico Hischier. Hischier's a great captain for the Devils. Luke Hughes, I'd like to see maybe a step up. Nico Dawes could be the future goalie. I do think Dougie Hamilton could get traded elsewhere at some point. So it's yet to be seen, but New Jersey, you don't know what they're going to get. You don't know what you're going to get out of the Devils. They could easily come back to the playoffs or something, but yet to be seen. All right. 6th, I have the Columbus Blue Jackets. I would like to see Columbus get back in the playoffs. They got Marchenko, Werenski, defending Norris winner, easily top 3 defensemen in the league. Jack Reeves, probably the future in net for the Blue Jackets, and Marchenko could be easily a big offensive threat. Monahan, obviously it's only been a couple of years, less than 2 years since the unfortunately tragic death of Johnny Gaudreau. So, yeah. I just hope Columbus can maybe rebound or something and at least just get in the playoffs or something, because they haven't had a lot of success in their first 25 seasons. And you know what? I think their fans would definitely like to see some success out of the Blue Jackets at some point. Okay, 5th. I have the New York Rangers. The Rangers continued to fall off after their dismal 2024-2025 season last season. But the Rangers have made some good moves. They could easily be back in the playoffs. Pavel Dorofeyev was a big pickup for New York, the Rangers. And hopefully that will pan out for them. Panarin's gone, though. Trocheck's gone. Still got Shesterkin, one of the best goalies in the league for the Rangers. And some younger pieces, too. Gabe Perreault maybe could have a breakout this year. Some other pieces like in there. Noah Laba is a bit underrated. The Rangers, I'm not sure if maybe they'll do like what maybe Pittsburgh did this year and get back into the playoffs. I'm not sure how well they do in the playoffs, but they could easily be a threat. But definitely the goal for the Rangers, they definitely do want to get back into contender status. That's for sure. 4th, I have the Philadelphia Flyers. Yes, they won a series this year. They beat Pittsburgh, but then got floor wiped by the Hurricanes in round 2. Philly, they did overperform in the playoffs, that's for sure, but they got a bright future now with Michkov, Martone, Konechny's still there, Couturier. Vladar could be the goalie, definitely, for a few years. I'm not sure. Urson's gone, though. They did get Joseph Wall, which was definitely a big improvement over Samuel Urson. So I could see definitely Wall in some good starts. Philly, I would not be surprised to see the Flyers back in the playoffs, but yeah. Philly, I have them 4th. 3rd, the Washington Capitals. Washington's definitely looking for a big bounce-back season after missing the playoffs. Ovechkin, Strome saying cup or bust, so Washington, we finished 6th in the division last year. Cup or bust. Definitely some big expectations for what could be Ovechkin's final season. I hope it's not his final season. I'd love to see Ovechkin get to 1,000 goals. But Washington, Maybe Ryan Leonard could have a breakout this year. I would definitely be looking for Ryan Leonard. Got Cole Hudson up there. Alexei Protas. Very good. Washington, this could be definitely back to the playoffs at least. Second, this is going to surprise a bit of you, but the New York Islanders. Yes, they missed the playoffs last season, but the Islanders are definitely looking up. Matthew Schaefer is going to take hold as the face of the Islanders this season. You got Matt Barzal, Sorokin, Callum Ritchie, I think, could have a breakout this year. I think Colorado should have held on to him. Ritchie could have been very good for Colorado, but instead he went to the Islanders. I think the Islanders are in for a very good season this season. First, this isn't going to surprise any of y'all. The Carolina Hurricanes. What else do you have to say? Defending Stanley Cup champions. Great core. Or young guys coming up. Stankoven, Blake. I'm not sure what's going to happen to Nikishin. Bussy. Probably the future net for Carolina, in my opinion. He had a historically good debut season. Stanley Cup champion. 6 years after working a COVID-19 job during the pandemic at Chipotle. Can't understand that. He was in the minors less than a year and a half ago, and now he's a Stanley Cup champion. Can't understate that. As a Hurricanes fan, that was an incredible run on some of the best fans in the league. And hey, you know what? We're gonna look. The Canes are gonna look to do it again next season. So, how much else to say? And we will finish off with the Atlantic Division. Okay, eighth. I really don't want to put this team here, but the Detroit Red Wings. Detroit definitely needs to get back in the playoffs this year, but the Atlantic Division is looking so good now. It's just Detroit could easily get mired back in there. Larkin's wanting out. Lucas Raymond could be a good leader, but the thing is, if Larkin were to get traded, what would the Red Wings get back in return? That's a big question. Trey Augustine's coming up, though, so that will be a definitely big future piece there for the Red Wings. So, but Detroit, it's yet to be seen. They could make the playoffs, but they could easily make the playoffs, and they could easily finish last in their division. They were leading the Atlantic in February and missed the playoffs. So, yeah, that was a huge collapse by Detroit. And Steve Yzerman's now, so the Yzer plan has officially been a failure. So, Detroit, hopefully they prove me wrong. Okay, 7th place. So the team that did make the playoffs, another team I don't want to put this low, but the Atlantic Division's so good. The Ottawa Senators. Brady Tkachuk's gone, so Tim Stützle is probably the big leading piece there. Sanderson's there. I wonder if Carter Yakimchuk can start to make an impact there. Big prospect coming out of the WHL for the Senators. Olmark's there, still as a goaltender. Maybe Ottawa should maybe go out there and get a different goalie. Something. It's yet to be seen by Ottawa, but hopefully the Sens prove me wrong or something too. Okay, 6th. 6th place, I'm going to make another bold move here. The Tampa Bay Lightning. Tampa's just gotten very old. Yes, you still have Nikita Kucherov, one of the best forwards in the league. Vasilevsky, Vezina winner. But the Atlantic Division is just getting so powerful that Tampa might just get passed. But then again, they could easily prove me wrong. They still got a ton of core pieces there. Braden Point, Nikita Kucherov, Vasilevsky. I mean, yeah. But the Atlantic Division is just so good. You just have to make some bold moves here. 5th, the Boston Bruins. Nearly dropped the magnet out of my hand. Boston, some very good pieces. I would not be surprised to see them back in the playoffs. David Pastrnak, McAvoy, Swayman. Pastrnak could easily be a 100-point scorer this year. A lot of Boston's newer, younger pieces like Fraser Mitten, Marat Kuznetsov, the Wild shouldn't have traded him. And so Boston could miss the playoffs, but I do think they could easily just as well get back into it and stay there. They just consider that one 2024-25. To be honest, it's just their goal to make it not look like a fluke. Boston, I have them 5th. Toronto, this one could easily backfire, at least in prediction, but 4th. The Toronto Maple Leafs. Gavin McKenna, getting him 1st overall is a big, big, big step for Toronto. Still have Matthews, Marner's gone. Nylander, Tavares, and Morgan Riley. I definitely would not be surprised to see the Leafs back in the playoffs, even though they just underachieve. And yeah, they're the Leafs. They're the Leafs. What else can you say? But Toronto, McKenna is easily, if they didn't get the first overall pick, they might have been last or 7th on my ranking. If they didn't get McKenna. So getting Darren Radish was also a very big pick up there for the Leafs. Wool being gone might not be the best choice, though, I'm just going to say. But anyways, third, the Florida Panthers. Getting Brady Tkachuk and Matthew Tkachuk, I believe, will be a big piece there for Florida, as much as I hate saying it. However, there is one big question. Bobrovsky's gone with the Leafs now. Another big reason why Toronto could be very good next season. Jacob Markstrom is now the starting goaltender for Florida. That could pan out not great for the Panthers. I'm just going to say that. Yet to be seen, but Florida's got a huge core. Despite goaltending, Florida's got a big core now. And to be honest, I'm expecting them to get back in the playoffs this year, that's for sure. Second place, Buffalo. Best season for the Sabres since 2011 last season. Series win against Boston. Absolute future looking bright, even with the absence of Alex Tuch. Buffalo, I think, will be a playoff team for many years to come now. Tage Thompson, Rasmus Dahlin leading the way. Luukkonen's probably the starting goaltender for the foreseeable future, that's for sure. Alex Lyon's a good backup, though. Lots of young, great pieces there for the Buffalo Sabres. And first, the Montreal Canadiens. Big step forward. 2 series wins against Tampa and Buffalo before losing to the Hurricanes in the conference final. Great young core that will contend for years. Suzuki, Caulfield, 50-goal scorer. Wouldn't be surprised to see him score 50 again. Lane Hudson, Slavkovsky maybe has a breakout. Demidov maybe has a breakout. Maybe some other players get back in the lineup. But Montreal, I see them finishing first in the division next season. Anyways, those are my divisional predictions. It's a bit hasty. It's just I'm kind of doing this raw. It's just a kind of like a raw one take. That's how I do most of my videos. But they're my divisional predictions. Maybe I'll come back to these once we get to the playoffs next season. Or maybe I'll do a re-rank at some point in the middle of the regular season. But yeah, there we go. Anyways, see you all in the next one.